Is this the single number one best tip that we can all embrace no matter where we are on our flute learning journey every single time we pick up the flute? Welcome back, and I must firstly say a big thank you for the 3 questions that I have, which will inspire future videos. Not this time, but perhaps next week, the week after. Definitely, if I'm not inspired like I am today, then that definitely gives me something. It's a huge help to know what you would like me to try and speak into, at least, so that we can share all of our experiences. We're all in this together. We're all, including myself, wishing to further and to improve our flute playing. And what is then the single most simplest, and we've heard it all before, we have heard it all before, is it the best thing to try and embrace no matter what new tip or trick we're trying to learn, no matter what style we're trying to embrace, doesn't matter where we are on our flute journey, if we could all just relax a little bit more, that would then free up our fingers, give us more dexterity. But stay tuned, please listen and just witness how some of these or this particular tip and trick might help you in things such as your flutter, in things such as your speed, your dexterity. It could even help you perhaps slide on notes that you thought you couldn't slide on. We're going to walk through all of that one by one coming up. So we all become a little bit tense, particularly if we're playing in front of somebody else. Perhaps we're recording a video, or perhaps we just put pressure on ourselves as well. All of these are valid to perform each time that we pick up a flute. We're a little bit unfamiliar with it. We're trying to get to grips with it. We're trying to learn something new on it. Or, like I said, there's added pressure by the presence of other people, whether online, whether in person, no matter where that is, whether that's with friends around a fire, whether that's performing on stage. One of the best things that we can do is firstly just take a deep breath and be mindful of how much tension is in our bodies, is in our fingers and our hands and our arms, and therefore will inevitably be carried through into our flute playing. So I'm going to give you, or rather I'm going to demonstrate how even simplest things about how holding a flute can help reduce the amount of stress that is in our fingers. So the tendency is, myself included, and if I have incredibly dirty fingernails, by the way, let us just all be reminded that my job is to make flutes. So often I'm dealing with various different products such as oily textures and paints and burning things. So let's not be judgmental about my fingers. Okay, so the tendency is, myself included, is to bury our little finger, our little pinky, because we don't use them, keep them out of the way. So that is quite handy, isn't it? It keeps them out of the way. We know that they're going to just like not interfere with our playing. But what happens when we put our little finger here? And just, I would ask you to just try that for yourself. If you know you do this, or might not have even realized that you do that, try placing it here and notice here when you're playing how much tension in particular is in this finger here. Oops, there's the dirty fingernail. In comparison to when that little move there just supports the whole of your hand, and it allows these 3 fingers to be freer, to be under less tension. So you're not using this finger any longer. So yeah, okay, let's remember also this is a 5-hole flute, and ordinarily that would have a finger hole placement as well. But challenge you nonetheless to try this for yourself. And so if I've got this one or these two, let's just go with that because it's probably more realistic. And I try and slide this note here. So remember, a slide is gradually sliding from one note to the higher note, with or without tonguing. But in a video that I made even not that long ago, I demonstrated something on flute, and I was struggling to slide on this note. Now let me demonstrate how free it might be when I get there. So there you go. The proof is in the pudding. I completely hashed it up. A little bit too much tension in there. There's a bit of effort there though, isn't there? So let's put this up there and give it a little try. And there's so much more focus that has to be done. My fingers become rigid as soon as I put my little pinky under there. It's the same with this as well. So let's move around to this hand here. I'm sorry that it's going to occasionally overexpose here. We're not high tech here. We're just passing on good information for people. So here we go. Let's try something like, we'll even use these fingers here. So they're even further away from this. What I did want to demonstrate is the flutter. So we all know when we play, so that is with tension. So we can just be mindful as well. So I will put this up here, but then I'll show you something else which is on the same, which will also help the flutter. The other thing is, it feels more comfortable. There's definitely less tension. You can physically feel the difference. Now, it's not like this is particularly heavy, but it's more to do with the position than the weight. But I think any degree of lessened tension in your playing fingers is only a good thing. So I would urge you to practice putting all your fingers on the top of the flute, even the ones that aren't covering holes, and just remember that. But also, there's not just about that. This is about being mindful about the tension that we carry in our bodies. And in particular, when we come to things like flutter, if we're just like, okay, because we're maybe performing in front of somebody, we've got our fingers up here and stuff like that, but we can still be quite tense. And another thing, this is in the beginners tutorials, go and check them out in the playlist, the beginners tutorials, if you haven't already. The tendency for us all when we're first learning flute is to kind of grip like that, like we're trying to come down onto the holes with our fingertips. Now we want to put the finger pads on. You see that it's flat across. It's not craned, it's flat across the flute. That will help you relax for sure. It helps cover the fingers, the finger holes much more effectively, because we're not using the tips, we're using the pads, which have more padding. But yes, so if you haven't done that one already, definitely embrace that too. But to go further, we can still be using the pads of our fingers, have the finger on top, but still carry tension in our body. Because there's so much intention to execute what we're trying to perform accurately. So if we can just relax that a little bit, do a little bit of breath work, or even just a breath to settle yourself, recognize that you're tense, and just try and relax everything just a step or 2 steps further than you are used to. Just that, being mindful of the fact before you play, will help reduce the amount of tension that you're carrying in your fingers, particularly as we gain experience. Granted, we can be more mindful of that and we can begin to relax it. And the more we can relax, even in the beginning stages of our flute playing, the more that we can relax, the better that we're going to become, the more fluent we'll be in our playing, the more expressive, the quicker, the more dexterity that we're going to have. And so it brings me on a little bit towards the piper's grip that I've hinted at prior, in a prior video, also when I was talking about Irish flute. But with piper's grip, they may cover this with the finger pad, the bottom hole, okay? But then they'll just allow the other 2 fingers to fall wherever they fall, and they'll find another comfy spot in the finger. So it just, again, is reducing tension rather than concentrating on having all the pads there, flat or not. You know, you can see that what I've done there to achieve that is I've had to come back to put all my pads on the holes. Okay, if I'm embracing a little bit of Irish culture and the piper's grip, which obviously applies to worldwide flutes, not just the Irish flute or whistle, they would just come forward and relax and be where they are. And that is just a much more natural position. Again, less tension, but this is why people can flutter so quickly when they're on the Irish whistle, and when they do the same on the top as well. You'll see them, and it almost looks like they're holding the flute like this, you know. Because look at the dexterity that you gain when you are holding the flute like that in comparison to trying to focus here. There's just much more freedom of movement. It's much more relaxed, and that's the whole key to this video. So we can just embrace that just on this bottom hand. So I would say that's the easiest one to listen to practice with at first. Don't try and do it on your whole flute. And we're doing this as well. We're doing this even though we can comfortably reach them. Because the whole thing with piper's grip, we get to a flute where perhaps the finger spacings are too wide for us, and therefore this would then be, the piper's grip would be the only way. You'd have to then slant your hand that way a little bit as well. It would be the only way that you could reach the holes on the bigger flutes, you know. Not like for a low D whistle like this, for example. You see the spacing, the ridiculous spacing on the bottom there. So I can't even reach that. So you imagine trying to play when you're that stretched. You just can't do it. So the only way to do it is to find that hole there with your finger pad and allow these 2 to fall naturally. It's the same on the top hand on this flute as well. So it might be the only way that you can even reach certain flutes, but we can still use that information to help us be more relaxed on flutes like this that are much more comfortable anyway. And the difference is fluttering So the difference for me there when I'm playing is it feels so much more comfortable. I could do it for so much longer than if I'm here. You can feel the tension when you try, and when you try to do this for yourself, you'll feel the difference. it becomes more ploddy as well. It's definitely less fluent than not the best demo there. Try these for yourself. Definitely get all of your fingers on top of the flute. You'll particularly, okay, so we all have decent dexterity, particularly if we've got a sensible flute. For us, we all have a good dexterity down here on the bottom, but they are definitely ways that you can improve things. And if you embrace the same on the top part of the flute and get all of your fingers on the top there, you'll find that you increase the dexterity and the playing ability on your top hand, because we all tend to avoid certain notes at certain times, or we'll perform certain tricks on certain fingers, and we just get in such a habit of that. This is trying to move beyond that. So you can see there, really it's increasing our ability across the whole range of the flute. And this then opens us up to more improvised playing, different sound, advances our flute playing, advances our repertoire on the flute, where we can go and embrace any trick throughout the whole scale of the flute by being more relaxed. So all of the physical ways that we can do embrace to improve that, as well as the mental, the intention, the recognition, the acknowledgement of how much tension is in there, and beginning to try and relax that too as well. So I hope you found that useful. If any of my videos ever inspire you or ever inspire a question from you, I'm delighted to hear that. And if that inspires another video, brilliant. But I'll always try and get back to you guys as well in the comments. Sometimes I miss and I forget who's commented on what video, but it's always my intention to at least try and answer everybody. So thank you for everybody who likes, subscribes, asks questions. Is brilliant, and hopefully we'll just continue to add little tips and tricks like this moving forward, and we'll grow this library, this free space of help for people that wish to play flute. So thank you so much for being part of that.